video is sponsored by my patrons. For more information or to join, there is a link down in the description.
Hello everybody and welcome to my May wrap up. So I am now going to be doing a monthly wrap up of all of the crafty things that I have made this month. And as you will have seen, I have been doing a slightly different format for my regular videos because I'm just feeling more like that's more sort of, it's more fun for me, it's a bit more authentic to my life because lately I haven't been doing a whole heap of crafting, so I don't really have a lot to tell you all. So it's much more, much more authentic to what's actually happening in my life is what these new videos have been like, and I've really been enjoying making them, so I hope you've been enjoying watching them. And if you are new here, my name is Julieanne and I'd like to welcome you, and please remember to subscribe if you enjoy and give us a thumbs up. And yes, today I've got a few things to talk about, mostly quilting I would say. I do have a knit item that I have worked on in May, and yes, so today is June. It is actually the 5th of June and it is a Monday. 5th, 6th, I don't know now. One of those two. But yes, I am here with another crafty vlog. So I can get rid of these scissors that I had here. I've just done a giant unboxing for my patrons. So if you wanted to see that video of me unboxing a whole bunch of fabric, then you can head over to Patreon for US $2 a month. I think AU $3 a month. You can join Patreon and you can help me to fund my podcast or my vlogs, and yeah, you get an extra video every week. You get early access to my regular weekly videos, so yeah, hop on over there if you want a bit more content. Without further ado, I might as well get on to what I have been working on in May, because yeah, like I said, it's not a lot, so this is probably not going to be quite as long as some of my other videos that I have done, but yeah, let's get on with it. So I have finished a pair of socks. So these are my Mewstone socks. So you have seen these before. I did have one completely finished, and then I had another one that I was doing on a long circular needle, magic loop style. What I ended up doing, because if you recall, my tension is a little bit bigger doing it on the magic loop. So because I knit the first sock in this pair on a 9-inch circular, I use my right hand to flick the yarn. When I use magic loop, I actually use my left hand, so I do it continental style, so that's changed my tension. So what I ended up doing is I ripped one of the socks out, the one that I had already finished. I had started the first sock, as I mentioned, on the magic loop method, so I ripped that apart and I started all over again. So these socks have been completely re-knit, and I did them on a 2.5mm long circular needle, and I adjusted my stitch count to 60 stitches. So because there was that extra bit of ease in doing my regular 64 on the 2.5mm magic loop, I decided to reduce the number of stitches. So I have done 60 stitches. As I said, this is my Mewstone Cave colorway, and it's sort of purpley blues. So yeah, these are done. They are finally done. So I was really flim-flamming for a really long time what I was going to do with these socks. I did purchase a new needle, but it has not arrived as yet, so I think it might be lost in the post, and because I didn't ask for tracking, I'm kind of up the creek without a paddle, so I might need to order yet another one. But yes, I did finish this pair of socks, and yeah, I guess they need a bit of a wash because, as you can see, because they've been re-knit, they're very bumpy, so these will need a bit of a wash and a block out, and then they can get into my regular rotation, because I have actually lost quite a few socks lately. So they will need to be pulled apart and re-knit because they've just got random holes in them, which is unfortunate, and I don't like darning. I'd rather rip them apart and knit a new pair of socks. So I have these to take up the slack a little bit, not that I really need it, but I don't know about you, but I've probably got about 40 pairs of hand knit socks or more, so I just tend to cycle through them. But yeah, this is a good replacement because I think I've got about 4 pairs that have shown up with holes, so yeah, these will fit in quite nicely. And I have another finished object which I have briefly spoken about on my regular videos, and it is a quilt. All of the rest of this will be quilting. So I have finished, whoops, we've just lost something, my ugly quilt. So I need to clarify the name of this as well. I think people think I'm actually calling this ugly, but this quilt was, I found this quilt described as the ugly quilt. It's kind of its name. I got this idea from Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts, and she calls it the ugly quilt because basically she came up with this design to be used with a bunch of fabric that just doesn't go with anything else in your stash, fabric that you perhaps don't like anymore, just to make kind of a workhorse kind of quilt that you can mash it all together. It can be as ugly as you like, and yeah, she just basically called it the ugly quilt. So that is why I call it the ugly quilt. It still has, guys, I'm really annoyed at myself with this one because not that I'm annoyed with the pattern or the quilt itself. I'm actually really happy with it. I've been using it a lot. It's been sitting on my couch, and I've been using it a lot in the cold weather that we've been having lately. And but if you recall, I tried doing a different type of quilting on this. I started doing circuit board, I think it was called. I did show that on a vlog, I can remember, because I was sitting over there in front of my window. I do remember showing that, and I did pick all that out because I wasn't particularly happy with it. The tension was a little bit off, so I decided just to unpick all of that, and then it sat for a while, and the batting inside has actually shed over the front from the way that I had it folded, because I did not trim down the quilt to around the size of the top. I actually had a big long piece hanging off the bottom of this forever that got folded up, that was just the raw batting, and it's left a bunch of lint on here from that. I really need to get I don't have a lint roller, but just like some sticky tape or something on my hand just to go over it. So if you see like this sort of stuff, it's like little bits of fluff from the batting being on it, but it's got a bunch of cotton on it now because I put it on top of a work in progress here. But I will open it up a little bit so that you can have a better look. So this was just a bunch, I think I used 20 fat quarters in this, and they were basically, so you can see here, that is a square. So I cut whatever size square, maybe is it 10 inches, maybe 10 or 12 inches. I'll put a video, a link to Karen's video in the iCard so that you can go and find this pattern and perhaps make it yourself if you so desire. I've got a random thread. But yeah, basically you stack up your squares and you cut them irregularly and then you sew them all back together. So that is what has happened across this whole quilt. And then after that, I believe I think I did 20, well yeah, I would have done 20 because I had 20 fat quarters, so I did 20 squares. So this is 4 by 5, which is I think a little bit bigger. I think she did 12 on the one that Karen shows in her video, so this is a little bit bigger. I haven't actually measured it, so I can't tell you how big it is. But basically I just used an old sheet on the back. It was just an old sheet that I got given from my Buy Nothing group when I did a call for if anybody had any spare fabric. Some people gave me some sheets, so I basically just put a sheet on the back, and then I've just done wavy line quilting. So this is just done with my walking foot on my machine, and I just sort of wiggled the quilt backwards and forwards as I went. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I do prefer this sort of quilting. I mean, you can see it on the front as well, because I did use a grey thread. I do actually quite enjoy doing straight line quilting, wavy line quilting, straight line quilting. I do quite like the texture that it gives. So yeah, seeing as I'm not very proficient at the free motion yet, straight line quilting is kind of where it's at. And then I have just bound it with some more of that sheet, and I just hand tacked it down on the back. I actually really enjoy hand stitching my binding on my quilt, so that is what I did there. There's tiny little invisible stitches. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. My husband and I have been tucking under it, so it's quite big. This is the length. I should really measure it so I can tell you, but I'm actually going to keep this on my lap, I think, because it's pretty cold today. So I'm going to tuck myself in my quilt and talk about some other things. So I guess I can get on to some works in progress that I have got here. One of these is a little less done than the other two. I've got various stages of completion here. Uh-oh, we've just lost a bunch of stuff. So there's a bunch of what do you call it, jelly roll strips that I cut. We'll pop those back there. I'll grab what's on the floor in a minute. But this is a quilt that I am doing for a group that I am in. It's a Facebook group that I am in, and basically the brief was granny squares. And as a lot of the people in the group are doing crochet granny squares, crochet cardigans, sweaters, that kind of thing, that's not really my jam. Also, I have enough blankets, and now that I'm quilting, I don't need additional granny square blankets. So basically I was kind of stuck, and I didn't know what I would make to be included in the make along. So what I decided to do is make a quilt, and it kind of was a spur of the moment thing, because I was not going to participate because I was like, I don't really want to crochet any granny squares. And then I happened to be watching Missouri Star Quilt Co.'s YouTube channel on a constant loop, just on autoplay, and came across a pattern. Now I've got to grab my pattern, it's on the floor so I can show you what it looks like. It is called the Turnabout Granny Squares pattern. So it's from Missouri Star Quilt Co, and basically it looks like that. So I thought that was quite sweet. So I have since found other granny square patterns, but I've already started this one, so that's what we're going to stick with. I really enjoy that the hopefully you can see it, that the points are kind of cut off on the squares, so it gives it more of that rounded kind of crochet yarn kind of look. I think I'm approximately halfway through doing this. As you can see from this picture, it's a 4x5 quilt again, and I believe I'm at about 12 squares. So I've done these out of a quilt. It was a quilt kit that I purchased years ago. So I purchased these kits, I think it was about the time that I got married, just after when I got married, which was in 2013. And the reason that I purchased them is that the fabric in the two quilt sets, the quilt kits that I had purchased, were fabrics that I had used in my fabric flowers for my wedding bouquet. So I bought these two quilt kits. I was going to make this in the other one that I have, but I had actually already cut that one up. This one had not been cut, so this is what I am making. So obviously I'm not making the pattern that the quilt kit was made to make, but that's fine. I've got enough fabric here, and I should be able to have enough backing as well. Although I did use some of it. This is what the backing in the quilt was this brown kind of capsule shaped brick, I don't know. But there was only about 6 colours in the kit, so this was written for a jelly roll, so it should be a little bit more varying in the colours. But because I only had those 6 fabrics, you can see there's quite a lot of repeat. But I really don't mind it. I think it looks quite cool. Because these end up being such small squares, I think they're about 2.5 inches you know, unfinished 2-inch square finished. Even if, like, say this one here, and I think possibly this one here are all the same fabric, but because they are such a small section, they all have a different pattern and different colors in them, so it doesn't really bother me. I think it's going to look really cool when it's all done. So what happens from there is it gets sashed. So this really cool, it's a really cool construction as well, because basically you make strip sets, cut down your strip sets, and then you make squares. I don't have any of them at the moment, but I can show you. You basically make squares that look like that, and then you slice them down the middle, so it gives you these quarters. So that is my Turnabout Granny Square quilt. So I haven't actually done much work on that since the beginning of May, so that will have to get some more work done. But I do have 2 gift quilts that I need to make fairly soon, so those are probably going to be next. So I've got all of this fabric. I think I overcut for this quilt. I don't think I needed as much as I cut, but we will see. I guess it'll be used in something else if it's not used in that quilt. So this one, I will not unfold this whole thing. I will put in a photo. You guys have seen this anyway. This is the flimsy that I finished. That is the Curvy Log Cabin quilt. So I bordered it. So this is the one that I used. You can see the dotted fabric there. So I used that in the whole quilt. So these sections here are that same dotty fabric. I'll just open it up a little bit more, see if you can see the curves. So can you see that there, how it kind of curves? So yeah, this was done with what do you call it, jelly roll. Or roly-poly, because this is Riley Blake fabric. So this is the hibiscus range from Riley Blake. Who's the designer? Simple Simon and Me or something it's called. So I just picked some of the pink matching fabric for the border. It's got the small inner border of the white, and then it's the Curvy Log Cabin, and it's basically curvy because, I mean, hopefully you can see that there, how it kind of gives a curvy shape to it. So yeah, this flimsy got done. I did share this on one of my day in the life vlogs, so I will find that one and put it up in the cards, so if you haven't seen it you can go back and see me finishing this off. So yeah, I haven't done any more on this since what I filmed earlier in May, but yeah, I've got the flimsy finished, and that is for my patrons. This is the quilt that I purchased that green backing for, so hopefully it looks okay on here, and it's a bit more of this kind of color in here, so hopefully it does work out okay. And of course, if you want to see that video with all of the fabric unboxing, that's over on my Patreon. And finally, this is the last thing I think I have to talk about. So this is my Jelly Roll Race Quilt. Again, I'm probably not going to unfold this whole thing, but I have been quilting this, so it is all sandwiched. I did do this on another video, which again I will put up in the doobly-doo for you if you have not seen it. This one I have used some wool batting. Let's see if you can see that there. So that's just some 100% wool batting. So this fabric is Three Sisters Designs, I think, and the range was called Daybreak. So it's a lot of beautiful florals, some paisleys, and I purchased some yardage. So I purchased this one and this one to put borders on the quilt. So I started quilting this last week, Friday in fact, and so far I am just doing some straight line quilting that kind of, I'm just freestyling it on the edge. I didn't bother to draw lines or use masking tape, but I'm just doing lines that line up with the Jelly Roll strips. I'm considering doing a second run through the center, but I don't know if I want it to be quilted that densely. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with it, because I do quite like more of a squishy, loose quilt, and I'm just concerned that if I go through and put that next lot of lines on it, it might make it too dense and not so squishy. So I'm not entirely sure. I will show you a little bit of the back so you can see how far apart the stitching is. So yeah, it's about the 2-inch mark, so they're about 2 inches between each line. But yeah, I was thinking of just coming through and doing just like a random line down the center, like not really measuring it, just sort of eyeballing it all the way down. But yeah, I'm just really not sure what I want to do. So if you have any ideas, please do let me know down in the comments, especially you quilters. What do you think about dense quilting and not so dense quilting? I'm pretty sure at 2 inches apart, I mean, not that my batting actually says, which is unfortunate, because I know some battings, they tell you that you need to like the certain distance between lines of stitching to ensure that the batting stays together, but mine doesn't actually say. And this is, I mean, the maximum is on the border, because I don't know that I'm going to put any quilting through the border. So the maximum there would be about 4 inches, 3.5, 3 to 4 inches. And of course the strips are about 2 inches apart. So I don't think it's going to be an issue at the current level of quilting that I am doing. But yes, if you have some thoughts, if you are a quilter, if you have some thoughts about whether I should stick that next line of stitching through that 2-inch stripe, or whether I should just leave it as is, let me know down in the comments. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. So I have just got to finish that quilting, and then I can bind it, and I have got some more of the inner border for my binding, so that will just go around the edge, so that hopefully will be finished by my next monthly wrap up. So that's probably it, I think, guys. I'm quite thirsty. I've been talking for quite a while now, seeing I did the Patreon video right before this one. So I think I might go make myself another coffee and settle down with my computer, which is broken, which I also explained on my Patreon video. So settle down with my broken computer. Never mind, it does work. All the interiors, all the software and everything still works, so that's fine. But yeah, my trackpad is a little bit stuffed. So yeah, I'll sit down with my busted computer and start cranking out some editing. So thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, please give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, if you did enjoy this. Check out those other videos that I put up in the iCard. They're all very good watching. So yeah, please do check all of those great creators out. And I guess until next time, before I lose my voice, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!